Let's see if this works. I don't know why Zoom does this to me. Aha, it worked. Okay, awesome. Let me share this really quickly since I am going early today. I was done with piano and I have to do it from home today again, so I'm like, why not? Might as well go early since I'm able to. So sorry if the sound is not as good as normal. There we go. Let me, hey Derek, hey Kaylin, hey Esther, how are you guys all doing? Carob powder? I don't. Is that like some diet thing? Because I'm interested in diet things, but I don't normally use that. No. Is that like, is carob powder like, no, I'm thinking cocoa powder. I do not though. Let me get some chapstick on here. Good to see you all. Everyone joined pretty quickly today. Even though I'm early, you never know what time I'm going to go. It's always going to be, hopefully, on Monday. And I just do it by the seat of my pants. Aha. Okay, so I was thinking right. I thought cocoa powder, but no, I have never used it. I usually just use cocoa powder because cocoa powder is not like high in calories or anything. So if I make anything, I used the cocoa powder. But no, I've never seen that or used that. Sorry. Good to see you too, Esther, and hello, Ashley. Thanks for joining, guys. So today we are going to talk about your relationship with kids. Obviously, we have in the chat, so just put this in the back of your brain for future reference, and hopefully you get married and have kids. Congratulations, Derek. I noticed you were looking skinnier in your profile pictures. My husband follows this man on Twitter, I think, and just gets a kick out of him. He talks all the time about his videos. He thinks he's hilarious. And yeah, so I noticed that you were losing weight. I'm hoping to get down to 50 total, and I'm only about 14 pounds away from that. So that would be, I'm going to turn this up because this is really low. Sorry, guys. It was very, very low. So hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. I'm glad I checked that because it was very low and I already don't have a microphone. So sorry if I just blast out your eardrums if you're listening on headphones. But all right, so let's get into the topic today about relationships with kids. So I think all of us want to have a good relationship with our kids. I know for me, it's huge on the priority list, probably higher than any earthly relationship besides that of my husband. They take priority over my friends. They take priority over my church. I tend to think that the boomer generation saw my generation as a bother and a worry. And they were so worried about making money and just getting kids, all the kids out of the house so that they could go travel and go on their trips and all of that, that they didn't really focus on bonding with their children. Along comes my generation, and co-sleeping and baby wearing make a comeback. And I did do some of those with my younger kids. It wasn't so much a bigger thing when I started having kids, but it definitely started gaining steam as I went more into my childbearing years. So anymore as I'm growing older, I'm seeing the link between a happy childhood and good relationships with mom and dad and functioning adults. I'm seeing how childhood trauma carries over into adulthood and how it literally affects every aspect of someone's relationship in every area: relationships with others, relationships with their spouse, relationships with their friends, relationships within the church. Your childhood really plays into a lot of who you are as an adult. It molds their character, their personality, etc. So as IFB, people have a perception of me and my life and how I raise my children. I feel like they think I'm just like ruler in hand, just like always, snapping at my kids, expecting perfect obedience, no one can ever mess up. We have all these strict rules and standards, and no one better ever deviate, and no one better ever cross the line. That's their perception of me being IFB, but that's not accurate. They have a perception of me and my life and the life of my kids, and they often think things about us that aren't true. So today I want to talk about ways I am intentional about being close with my children and different methods and things that we use in our own lives as we're raising our children. And obviously, I've had this show now for going on 6 years, I think in March, going on 6 years. And while some of my advice might change throughout the years, because when we started, I had, a 16-year-old, I think. And so now I've raised 3. I now have 2 in their 20s and then a daughter close behind. So I've raised a couple into adulthood, and I have a couple teenagers as well. So while the premise is still the same, I'm going to have more experience as the years go on. And so where the foundation of what we do stays the same, there might be things that I tweak, things that I've learned, different things that I can help throughout the years bring to you as you're raising your kids. So, that'd be awesome if you drove here in Illinois. Drove here in July, that'd be great. I was just talking to our Irish friends, and they're probably going to be visiting sometime in the summer, and we were talking about them visiting in July. So you should try to come when our Irish friends are here, and then you can meet them too. So they're basically like the Liberty Baptist Church family, just over in Ireland. So yeah, that would be great to see you in real life, right? In person. So first of all, let's get into how raising kids and having a relationship is more than a set of rules. All right. If there's anything I get through everyone's head comes in kid is it's not about a list of do's and don'ts. It's not about thou shalt do this and thou shalt not do that. It's not about just having a list like tacked to your wall. And if there's any infraction of the list, then you come down with a heavy hand every single time because you have to be consistent, right? Because if you go one day without being consistent, you're going to raise someone who's just like the devil. No, raising kids is more than a set of rules. It's a heart issue. It's a heart issue with your children because your kids, and I found this out, they need to be so close to you and have such a good relationship with you that they don't want to upset you or make you sad. And this should start from the time that they're young. I have seen kids who were raised in homes cower in fear when, and their parents were the type that they would proudly tote around the spoon, or they would, proudly tote around whatever spanking implement that they had, a rod or whatever it is. They were like, parents are like, I'm going to show everyone that I'm in charge. I have my kid. See, look, my kid is afraid of me. He is cowering in fear every time I enter the room. I think that's a shame. You're teaching your children to fear punishment. You're not getting to the heart of the matter. You're not teaching your children that it's about displeasing the Lord. And that should be their number one focus. Like, I am so upset that I displeased the Lord when I did this. And we all sin, right? We all fall short. As an adult, I am learning and growing every day. I fall short oftentimes and I sin. And it should, as an adult, it should burden me and make me sad when I upset the Savior. And when I've messed up yet again, and, I know what I'm supposed to do in these situations and I mess up again, and it should bother me that I've hurt the Lord, that I've, sinned against the Lord. So as parents, and it's not even, some things in my life I am not going to do just because I do kind of fear the punishment of God. Like, I know I'm his child and I know he expects things of me and I know better. So I do fear that. But overall, my main desire for living the life that I live and the ministry that I have and raising the children that I am, it's all to glorify the Lord. It's all to please the Lord. And so if I have at home, I'm involved, like outwardly, I look the part, right? Like I have all the dress standards down and I'm wearing the skirt past the knees and I'm modest in apparel and modest in the way that I'm talking and dressing and all that. but yet I have these secret sins that are going on at home. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's looking at inappropriate things I'm not supposed to. Maybe it's listening to Taylor Swift music. I'm just throwing that out there as a joke. I don't listen to Taylor Swift music, but maybe it's listening to worldly music that I shouldn't, and it's really playing on my heart. And maybe it's reading steamy romance novels that I shouldn't be. And then it's making me feel a certain way towards my husband and, putting all these bad thoughts into my head. There's many things as adults that we can do that are sin. And rather than just being afraid, oh my goodness, I'm going to get caught, like my facade's going to be up, we should be more upset at the fact that we're hurting the Savior. And so with our children, we want to have a relationship with them. That we want them to know that we love them so much, and that our desire is that they grow up to love the Lord and serve Him and glorify Him. And that when they sin, when they go against the rules that we have set, like we have this standard for movies, we have this standard for things you can do when you're with your friends. We have standards for this is the way we talk in this house, and this is the way we talk to others, and this is the way we talk with others. When they go against those standards and they disobey, they should be more saddened at the fact that they upset us and broke our heart than saddened at the fact that they got caught. And that's the problem I'm seeing with a lot of this just very authoritative, I'm the boss, I have the spoon, I'm gonna, come down hard on my kids if they mess up. Well, then your kids grow up fearing you more than just fearing upsetting you or hurting your heart or, feeling bad that they hurt you as their parents. So it's a heart issue with kids. They need to be close to you so they don't want to upset or make you sad. But it's not about appearances when you're raising kids. It's not about people thinking that you, fit this mold of like perfect fundamentalist mom or perfect IFB mom or whatever. It's more than you having the answer to every solution. Some things, women come to me all the time, and there's some things where either one, I have to get advice from my husband and ask him, what would you do in this situation? And I have to tell him, I'll be back, because I don't want to give you bad advice. And I really don't know, like in this situation, I've never faced it. I really don't know. So we don't have the answers to everything. It's silly to even act like we have arrived or, we know it all and we have the answer to sometimes we don't. And so it's not about appearances and what people think of us. It's not about if people think that we're the perfect family and I have sinless kids. Newsflash, I don't have sinless kids. I'm not sinless, and I don't have sinless kids. So our standards that we have are not about appearances. I couldn't care less what everyone out there thinks about how we do things in here. I couldn't care about that. What goes on in my home goes on because of our convictions and the way the Lord has led us to raise our family. Some people have TV, a television. Some people don't. As you can see, we do. It's not something I've ever hid. Now, I think that you should not have things playing that you would be embarrassed for other people to see. So, be who you are in your home, that you would be outside or whatever. But I've never hid the fact that, we do certain things in our home, I guess, whatever. I'm not going to like push it in people's faces who don't. Maybe you don't have a TV in your room or your house. Okay. So maybe I should turn it like that as not offend anyone, right? So that you can't see. But I'm just saying, when you have standards and convictions in your home, if you don't have certain ones, you shouldn't be flashy or brag about the fact that you don't. Well, I don't need to have this standard. I don't need to dress this way. I don't need to not have a TV because I can control what I watch on the TV. You don't need to be braggadocious about it. You need to be respectful of other people's positions, but you should not conform or do things just because like everyone in your church is doing it. It's at that point that things start looking a little culty when absolutely every single family in the church is doing it, even if they're not convinced of it in their heart. That's the thing. If you're convinced of it of your heart, go for it. Do it. But just be convinced of whatever you're doing, whatever standard that you have in your home, whatever conviction you have in your home, be convinced of it in your heart. Okay? Oh, awesome, Kaylin. That would be wonderful if we saw you again. I was kind of hoping that we would see you more often this fall. So, what you allow and what you don't allow in your home should be based off standards first and foremost of your husband. Follow his lead, listen to him. Maybe he thinks that you need to keep the television off for 6 months. Do it. And you might just see wonderful things happen in your house or in your family. So just follow your husband's lead first of all. You don't need to follow the lead of anyone else in your home. You don't need to do things just because everyone else is doing it. At that point, if it's not a heart conviction, years down the road, what's probably going to happen is if you switch churches, if you have to move, you're going to drop all those standards, and then your kids are going to see that, and they're going to be like, well, why are we even doing this if you didn't believe it? So just pick a standard and stick to it. That's what I say. That's how we've raised our kids. We've had very consistent standards throughout the years. They haven't really changed much as far as modesty, music we listen to, movies we allow in the home, different things like that. We've been very consistent with it. You also want to realize that whatever standard that you have, your kids are most likely going to be a little lower than that. Kids tend to push the bar. So maybe it's a good idea for you not to have TV in your home if you can't control what you watch, because who knows what your kids will grow up, watching, whatever. So those are some things to keep in mind. What are some, or number two, before we get into that, make sure that when it comes to relationships with your kids, you keep the main thing. Okay, so they need to see that you have a relationship with the Lord. They need to see that it grieves you when you mess up. And if you just act like you're perfect and act like you never sin, your kids aren't going to see the need for you to repent and ask God's forgiveness and, all of that. So keep the main thing. Keep your relationship with the Lord number one, and let them see that you have a relationship with the Lord. Let them see you read your Bible. Reading your Bible is so important. I'm going to do if I have time, I might record it next Sunday and premiere it. I don't know. I might not. I might just skip next one day when we're on the missions trip. Haven't decided yet. I always just plan it as I go. So we'll find out what happens. But I wanted to kind of touch on a whole show. It might be a shorter one of your relationship with your Lord. Relationship with the Lord, ways that you can foster that, ways that you can make that deeper, the basics for having a good relationship with the Lord. And it will all kind of just tie all of these relationship series in together. So keep your relationship with the Lord the main thing. Read your Bible, even when you don't feel like it. Your husband doesn't always feel like going to work every day, but he does it. That is the way that he supports his family and provides for his family. That's how you're able to stay home, all that good stuff. So there's going to be things in life that we don't automatically feel like doing. And don't let anyone make you feel guilty for feeling that way. Sometimes life gets busy and life is full, and it's hard to fit in 20, 30 minutes here, reading the Bible amid all the chaos. Maybe that day just everything's wrong. Your car breaks down and your dog runs away and dinner catches on fire. All these things are going crazy. And then you're like, and now I need to take 30 minutes and just sit and do nothing but read and pray. And sometimes it's hard, but just do it, because sometimes we have to do the hard things in life. Praying is so important. Praying for others, getting a prayer list going of different needs, people throughout your church. Start it at the beginning of the year, and then by the end of the year, you might be amazed at all those prayers that got answered. So your relationship with the Lord, keep that the main thing. Let them see. The kids they're gonna model what they see. If they see that you have a relationship to the Lord, if they see that you have a heart for the Lord, if they see that you have a heart for the things of the Lord, they're going to too. Relationship with others. They're first and foremost also going to see how you model this. So make sure that you are easily approachable. Make sure that you forgive easily. Make sure that you don't talk down about other people. Make sure that you love the people in your church well. Your kids pick up on your attitude towards everyone and everything. Just really model that for them. What are some ways to foster relationships with your kids, though? Now, this can start when they're young. I've always been very intentional about this from the time that they're born, from the time they're in my belly. I'm talking to them I'm trying to foster that relationship with them. I really want to know my kids. I want to know them and I want to know them well. I want them to know me well. I want them to know that they are 8 of my very favorite people in the entire world. And those 8, along with their dad, those 9 are my favorite people out of the entire universe. And I would pick them over everyone. Anyone and everyone I would pick them. I want them to know their worth. I want them to know their value. I want them to know that they're super important. So when they're young, I take the time to talk to them. Anyone that knows my babies knows they're talkers. And we talk all the time. I don't talk down to Kelly. She's 5, but she's incredibly smart. And so I just talk to her like she's an adult, whether that comes to explaining something. If she explains how a light bulb works, I'm going to explain it to her like I would to an adult. If she asks for an explanation on how to bake bread, I'm going to tell her exactly how to bake bread like I would to an adult. She catches on. So kids are a lot smarter than you give them credit for. I don't talk down to my kids. I talk to them and treat them like they are older than what they are. I pry into their lives and I tell them all the time, this is my job. This is my job as a mom. Our intuition is not usually ever wrong. So when it comes to our kids, if you have a gut intuition that something is off, it probably is. So dig a little, pry a little. Now I have noticed, and we'll talk a little bit about it, as they're teenagers, this is going to change a little bit. It becomes harder for teenagers to open up to you about especially relationship issues. Maybe that's with their girlfriends, they're talking to someone. It becomes harder. And I think it's because they're learning to navigate things on their own. And that's okay. It's a good thing. It means that they're growing up. I've had a hard time not getting offended by this in the past, but I'm realizing I have to be very hands off when it comes to some things with my teenagers. And a lot of those are relationship things because they are trying to learn to navigate through this. I'm not a hoverer when it comes to relationships. I let them spread their wings and figure it out. And, I have to trust that I've raised them well. So, and I think us as parents and moms especially, we have a hard time trusting ourselves. Like, what did I miss? Well, we're always going to miss something, okay? But if we've gotten the basics down with our kids, it's going to be okay. So, but yeah, do fun activities with your kids, especially from the time that they're young. It shouldn't all be about just, I have to hammer every fact of life into my kid's head and there's no time for fun. It's all serious, no laughing, no entertainment. It's all about business. Well, you're going to produce a very anxious child, a very angry child, a very bitter child over some stuff that stuff that happened is from the time they were young. If it's all work, 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 no play, it makes Jack a very dull boy, right? Whatever that saying is. So I know that's just a little saying, but it is kind of true. You have to have fun and don't expect the church to plan all your fun for you. Church is great for taking your kids, teaching them to serve the Lord, teaching them that, the Lord and the things of the Lord takes priority. But throughout the week, you should be able to have your own life and you should be able to do your own fun things without depending on the church to do it. I know most churches are not financially able to. Most churches are pretty, inflation has hit everyone. So you as a parent, you should be able to make fun times for your kids. You should be able to plan fun things. And that's one thing with our family. We're so spontaneous. Like everything happens like, let's go here. And if it was up to Allie, let's go to the trampoline park. Let's do this. Let's do this. But we've always been, my husband would come home from work. Let's go hiking. Okay. Where's some state parks near us? We'd find a state park. If it's snowing, let's go sledding. Let's go, I don't know. It could be anything. It could be any fun activity. It could be a cheap fun activity. It could be a zoo. It could be whatever. We've always done that through our whole lives. And our kids have lots of really, really good memories of when they were little and we would do that. So make fun activities for your family. Do fun activities. It can be cheap. It can be fast. It can be getting in the car and going for a hike. We did bikes when my kids were younger. We had a little, my husband's bike, one sat in the back, and then I had a little thing I pulled on my bike that 2 of them. So from the time they were like little, from the time Tommy was a baby, we were putting him, strapping him in the back of the bike and going for bike rides. So they need to have good memories like that. Just remember that relationships can be torn down in one. Let me repeat that again. Relationships can be torn down in one fit of rage. One fit of uncontrollable rage from you, of you not controlling your emotions, and it can be torn down. Years and years and years of relationship. And that goes for anyone, not even your kids. That goes for coworkers. That goes for friends. That goes for people in church. It can be torn down in one fit of rage. Sorry, I skipped over something here. So have boundaries when it comes to your children and rules, but make sure after the appropriate discipline that you show them you love them too. And I've noticed with Kelly, she's very sensitive to this, that there's ever a time when we have to discipline her afterwards, she just wants to hug you and she wants to be close to you. Don't discipline them and then just make them sit in their room for an hour. That's kind of shunning them. That's not getting across a good message. So let them know that sometimes, we're going to have to discipline you, but it doesn't matter. We still love you. We'll always love you. It doesn't matter if we have to, discipline you right now, we're always going to love you. So take them on dates. This is one thing I've done, even with my girls. I will, if they're going through something, they're going through a really stressful time, or something's going on, we will go out for dinner, we'll go shopping, just something with just me and my girls. We'll do that. And my boys, I took them on dates too when they were younger, just not so much anymore. Now that one's married and now that one is 21 years old. Doesn't happen, but well, it kind of did, I guess. That's a lie. Because yesterday was Jason's birthday and my husband and I took him out for Mexican. So we both took them out, but yeah, we take them out for their birthdays. We make a big deal out of their birthdays. We make sure to recognize them, let them know that they're special. So pay attention to the areas where they're struggling, and we can all sense areas that our kids are struggling. So that leads me into the whole teenage years. I know I'm associated with little kids right now. And forgive me if I talk more specifically about teenagers and middle schoolers now, because I'm kind of out of the stage where I have all little kids. And I feel like having Hannah and Kelly really helped me bond more with the younger moms, because I know what they're going through and all of that. So that kind of refreshed my memory, because we had a 5-year gap between Lana and Kelly. So that kind of refreshed my memory. So I feel like I can identify a little bit more with the younger moms because of that. But I have all ages now. So I am more dealing with kids that can be reasoned with, kids that can be talked with. Little kids can be reasoned too, but sometimes not. Sometimes they just need, they have to obey, and they have to learn that they have to obey right now. When they're teenagers, obviously, you need to get to the heart of the matter. If you have a teenager that's consistently lying and sneaking around and being deceptive, why is that? There is something big time wrong. A spanking is not going to fix that. You've got a heart issue at that point. And so you need to head it off before they get to that age. You need to have your kids' hearts before they're teenagers. Now, for us, when it comes to our teenagers, we have age-appropriate discipline, and this is something that's gotten us into trouble a lot with fellow Baptist people. But I believe that by the time they're a teenager, you should have no need for corporal discipline. Corporate discipline. You should have no need for corporal discipline by the time that they're that age. The Bible talks about, when they're young. When they're young, chastening them. When they're young, using physical discipline on them. So it should get to the point by the time that they're a teenager that you've got their heart, and that they're more upset about upsetting you than getting a spanking. So many parents think that if I just spank my kids, it's going to fix everything wrong with them. That's not true. There's so much more that goes into raising a child who loves the Lord than just spanking them when they mess up. There's age-appropriate discipline. And, discipline should look different for a 2-year-old than a teen. And I've been saying that for years, and it's working for us. So I'm going to continue to say that. If there ever comes a time where maybe I need to readjust, I will. But at this point, no, because by the time my kids are teenagers, there's no need for that anymore. and they listen very well. We've never had, we're 4 or 5 into this now. We've never had one that's just defiantly going against everything we're telling them to do. So if I got to that point, maybe I would reevaluate. But at this point in my life, it's not needed. So the main things that we deal with our kids when they're teenagers, they should be worried about disappointing you. So leading in this, when you have teenagers, one of the ways that your relationship is going to change, you're going to need to get ready for a lot of late night talks. I'm just going to tell you that. Get ready for times where you're not going to be able to just sit around and chill in the evening, but you really need to address the situation. You need to address a problem. Maybe there's a heart issue going on. Something's off, and their speech has changed, and there's something going on, and you can tell. Well, get to the issue, because you've got to get to the root of what's causing it. And most of the time you can get to the root, but it's going to take a lot of digging. It's going to take a lot of prying. It's going to take a lot of straight talk. And with teenagers, sometimes I'll be dealing with, the babies all day and all of their shenanigans. And then the evening comes and I've got some other issue going on with one of the teenagers that I have to address, and I know it. So I really have to just put them to bed, not the teenagers, the babies. Put the babies to bed, and then I'll spend the next 2 or 3 hours dealing with the teenager and really getting to the issue. And you can tell, it's better to get to the issue than just bury your head in the sand. And then they're 18 and you have a serious problem. Okay, so you need to address these issues head on. Teenagers have to figure things out on their own sometimes. Just remember, they're learning to think for themselves, but they still need guidance. So we allow a lot of leeway when it comes to this. Most of our kids have known what's acceptable, even for if they're pursuing a relationship with a member of the opposite sex. They're going to know what we would approve of and what we wouldn't. They don't ever go into a relationship without first getting our okay. And I think that's good. It's good to want your advice. It's good to want your wisdom when it comes to who you're going to date, who you're going to talk to, because a lot of times your parents know you. They know that teenager better than anyone else, and they know what's going to be good for them. They know what's not going to be good for them. But that being said, teenagers and young adults are learning to think for themselves, and they have to figure some things out. And I've learned to just back off, pray about it. If I know something's going on and they won't open up to me, I just have to pray about it and pray that, Lord, I raised them in a certain way, and I know that they're smart, and I know that they have common sense, and just help them make the right decision. And it's worked in a lot of different situations. So give your kids responsibility, teach them to be hard workers, but realize when they need a break too. Teenagers can get overwhelmed. They don't need the full task of raising the kids, or raising, taking care of the house. It's still your job as the mom to oversee. And I think this is easy for us as older moms to kind of slip into, especially when you have an older daughter like I, who wants to take over everything, and I have to just rein her back sometimes. But I also realize the fact that she needs her friendships, and she needs to be able to just, go away for a couple days to her mom and pa's house, or go for a week with a friend. Don't just tie them down here in the house and be like, you're going to be a wife and a homemaker someday, so you need to do it all now. Let them have their childhood. Let them enjoy their singleness. Let them enjoy not being tied down to, the Bible even talks about it, that, if you're tied down, don't seek to be loosed, or whatever it is. But, so that is an extra responsibility, extra burden when you end up getting married and having a family and having a home. So when they're young, let them be young. Don't even push relationships too early. Let it happen when it happens. Don't try to force them into one. Just let them be a kid, let them be a teenager, let them enjoy that part of their life while teaching them responsibility too. And there is a balance there. Obviously, you don't want to raise lazy kids, and you don't want to raise girls who don't know how to do anything when it comes to the kitchen. You don't want to raise boys who aren't hard workers. There's a balance there. There's a balance. Um, things will come full circle eventually. So what do I mean by I say that? Sometimes you're going to feel like um, maybe my kid just doesn't understand. They don't realize how much work it is. Well, when they get older and they get married, they're going to realize suddenly mom and dad are not going to look so stupid. And that's already happening with my oldest who is married. So they realize it. They realize how much work it is. So much of their personality is molded by watching and observing you react to different situations and scenarios. So much of the person that they are is based off of watching you. More, what is it? More is caught than is taught. Okay. We can say all the words out of our mouths, but it's by them watching you. It's by them seeing you, how you handle disappointments in life and how you handle moments of stress and how you handle other people in your life. And, that's what is going to help mold them more than anything that you say. So what are some ways that we can, hello, Janello. What are some ways that we can hurt our relationships with our kids? And I'm going to kind of just do, this might not be as long of a show, but that's all right. If you have any questions too, put them in the chat. I don't know if I can answer them. I'll try. Yeah, just put them in the chat if you have them. Okay. What are some ways to hurt relationships? Number one, have fits of rage. If you want to hurt your relationships, especially with your kids, go ahead, freak out on them. Spaz out at them, yell at them, throw some things at them, kick a hole in the wall while you're at it. Yeah, that'll be a good way to hurt your relationship with your kids, is just by having uncontrollable bouts of anger. As moms, we've got to learn to regulate our emotions because we're trying to teach our children how to regulate their emotions. If we don't know how to regulate our emotions, our children are not going to know how to regulate their emotions. So the number one way to hurt your relationship is by having, ignore them. Ignore them when they try talking to you. Ignore them when they try telling you a story. Ignore them when they try cuddling with you. Ignore them when they try kissing you. Ignore them when they try giving you a hug. Ignore them when they try giving you a picture. Just go ahead and ignore them. Act like they don't exist. Great way to ruin your relationship. Number three, act like they're a bother. Act like, what now? We've all been guilty of it. I am too. I get frustrated with my children. I get irritated with my children as well. And sometimes I've just reached my limit, especially if we're having a trying day. And I'll say, you just need to go your way now, and I need to go my way to help me not have a fit of rage. Not really, but I don't really have fits of rage. But, if you act like they're a bother, just, I'm too busy for you right now. I don't want to be bothered by it. Your kids are your biggest mission. Your kids are your biggest priority in life over anything that happens. So ways to engage and connect with the littles when they don't love to cuddle. I've had some like that. Abigail, to name her. And you know what? Hannah used to be this way, but I totally done, what is it called, a 180. In the last few months, she really loves to cuddle now. With Abigail, I found ways of physical affection that weren't so much like cuddling. Abby loves her neck played with, and she loves what we called bumpies. And so I would find little ways like that of physical touch that they necessarily, you don't have to snuggle them or hug them, but she's still next to me, and I would, playing with her hair. She loves that. So you could look for alternative physical things that they might like if they're more sensory. Have them cook with you, maybe have the others go watch a movie. I know that's evil. So, okay, maybe not watch a movie, maybe look at a book. There you go. Have them look at a book while you have them right next to you, stirring things, and then, helping you cook. Different little activities like that you can really engage with when they're little. Have them help you sweep, have them help you. Kids just like to be doing something. They like to be seen. They like to know that mom is paying attention to them. So those are some things that you can do, even if if they don't like physical touch, maybe they would like a book being read to them. Maybe they would just like to sit and pretend to have tea with you. Well, there's so many things you can just figure out what they like and then, make it special for them. So, then, if you want to hurt your relationship, raise them to just get them out of the house. Once they're 18, my hands are washed and I'm done. So, that's one thing that you can hurt your relationship. Just like once you're, and I knew a mom used to say this, once they're 18, they're not my problem. Once they're 18, they're out of my house. Once they're 18, they're packing up and I'm done. So that's a horrible, horrible mentality. My job is to raise functioning members of society who love the Lord and want to serve him, and they can stay here as long as they want until they get to that point. I also feel like it's my job to help get them well established. And because of that, we've done that with our boys. We're doing that with our girls, whether that's having them start their own side business or getting them through school. Jason right now is working, but also just started going to electrician school. I would highly recommend trade school over anything if you have boys. And that right now he's getting ready to buy a house. He's like doing all of these steps that are going to help his future. Every single decision he's making right now is going to help his future. And that's our job to kind of steer and guide them with that. So that's part of the relationship, the mother. I'm not just raising my kids to get them to an age and then kicking them out and saying, fend for yourself, sucker, see ya. That's not my goal with my kids at all. So the lighting is getting really wonky in here because of the curtain. I don't know what, or let me see if I can kind of turn it a little bit. Get out of the light here a little bit. So, raise your children. This is a way to hurt your relationship. Raise them to regret getting caught rather than true remorse over hurting the Lord. And this comes especially to over-the-top punishments because your kid embarrassed you in front of others. And I feel like for pastors' families, this can be a danger because we have the whole, he who ruleth his house well. So, and I think if you breed this spirit in a church, and I think this comes down to the pastor because this is not in our church at all, but you can breed the spirit where people are just waiting for your kids to mess up so that they can scream you're not ruling your house well or something. That tends to come down to just having the wrong people in your church, honestly. But as pastors, if you don't put your foot down and say, this my 2-year-old throwing a fit does not disqualify me from the ministry, and you're not going to be looking for ways for my kids to mess up so you can scream that. If you don't put your foot down and say that, then it just breeds like this thing. And also too, I think pastors have to be careful just not being that way with other pastors, and looking for fault constantly is if maybe they don't like someone, so they're trying to just like find ways to disqualify them from a ministry. So then they look at some shortcoming in their kid or something. You have to be really careful when it comes to that. But especially for pastors' families, for us, if there was ever an inkling of that type of attitude, we never deal with stuff publicly. You always deal with stuff in home. So, and then you don't go over the top just because you're embarrassed. Our kids are going to embarrass us. If you're not a PK, if you're not a pastor's family, you're going to be embarrassed and you're going to have your kids embarrass you. So it's a fact of life. You know what? You want the punishment to fit the crime. You don't want to go over the top just because you're embarrassed. If you want to hurt relationships with your kids, put others before them. Listen to others before hearing their side of the story. And there's always two sides of the story to everything. And each person is kind of going to spin the story the way that they want it spun. So just keep that in mind too. And then ignore them when they're calling out for their needs to be met. If you want to hurt your relationship, just ignore them. If they're begging you, please listen to me. Mom, I have a problem. You better put down what you're doing and you better listen to their concerns. You better listen to what their problem is. And then number 9, the best way I think to hurt the relationship with your kids is with this thing in your mouth called your tongue. Tear them down with your tongue, with your words. Say hurtful things to them. Be nasty, be mean, never encourage them. Always be mean. And that's a surefire way to hurt your relationship. So on the flip side, what are some ways, and this is what we'll end it with, I have 9 of these too. What are some ways to help your relationship with your kids? Number 1, listen. You have to listen to them. You have to take the time. They're not a bother. They're not a menace. They are your life's work. And eventually, all the time and effort that you put into them, it will be revealed. Eventually, if you haven't, if you've only implemented ways to hurt your relationship, eventually that'll be revealed too. Everything comes out at the end. So think of you as an adult. What are some, and this is kind of what I've tried to do when raising my kids, what are some things that stuck out to you that helped you the most when you were being raised, when you were growing up? Use those with your own children. What are some of the things that hurt you the most when you were being raised? Don't do those to your children. And there's always going to be ways. I'm not perfect. I know there's ways that I'm sure I've hurt my children and ways that I could improve. And there's ways that I've helped my children. So, there's both of these things going on. Go with your gut. Watch your children. Know what's going on. Know who their friends are. Go with your gut, and you know your kids the best. Okay, so you know your kids the best. And usually your gut is not wrong. Usually it's pretty accurate. So go with your gut. Just a second here. Go with your gut and don't second guess yourselves. Our intuition is usually not ever wrong when it comes to anything. Law kind of said, I had a lady tell me to listen to their story for the 120,000th time. That's usually sometimes how it is. Like it's the first time. If they can come to you with the small things, they'll come to you with the big things. That's exactly right. Small kids, small problems. Big kids, big problems. And they need to know that they have a confidence in you. They need to know that you're going to listen. They need to know that you're not going to brush them off. Be intentional about the time that you spend with them. You have to be intentional about it. Just like today is crazy, but as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go, because I was teaching a couple hours before this, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to cuddle with the babies. I'm going to pay attention to them. I'm going to talk to them. And then one of the things that we do as a family, a lot of times with the older kids, we might go to the gym together. That's kind of our thing, me with the older kids. So then I'm getting time with my younger kids. I'm getting time with my older kids. And I literally don't usually have a minute to myself. It's all around my kids and around my family, and that's fine with me. I don't care. As long as I know I'm dividing my time the way I need to around all my kids, I'm good to go. So also, expecting your kids to parent you is very damaging. Yes, it is very, very damaging. You need to get a control of whatever issues you have so that you don't expect your kids to take care of your emotional needs or take care of your mental needs or whatever it is. So you get the help you need, whether that's going to a therapist, whether that's whatever it is. So, and then let me see here. Sorry. Encourage them. This is huge, especially for older kids. You have to encourage them with your words. Model to them the person you want to be. So model to them the person that you want them to be. Model to them the person you're hoping to be. Whatever person you want them to be, you have to model that for them, because more is caught than taught. And then raise them, then let them grow up. And this is one of the hardest things. Like at the end of all of this, the way to have a good relationship with your kids is to let go. And I have found that out in the last few years. You have to let them grow up and you have to let them make their own decisions. I feel like there's this mentality, because I am outgoing, that I'm going to be like this overbearing mother-in-law who just like gets involved with my son and my daughter-in-law all the time. But can I tell you, I know they've only been married since August, but I have never once given any piece of advice to Jenna. I've never once done that. And my goal is that I will not give advice unless asked for it. I will love her and Tommy. I will support her and Tommy. I will encourage her and Tommy, but I will never put my 2 cents in where they're not intended, where they're not going to be. It's their life. It's their life now. She doesn't need my advice. She has a great mom, great family, great church. She doesn't need my advice, and they're figuring it out on their own. So just because you're outgoing it does not mean that you don't know where boundaries and lines exist. So I might be outgoing, but I know where my realm of opinion starts and where it ends. So I know where it starts and where it ends. So yeah, just because you're outgoing does not mean that you don't know how to keep your mouth shut, and does not mean that you don't know how not to give advice when it's not needed. Just want to throw that out there because there seems to be this like misconception about outgoing talkative people. Well, yes, we might be outgoing and talkative, but we also know where our advice is not wanted. So we're also socially aware, right? So yes, letting go is hard because it all comes down to whether or not you even trust what you've done. You know, like do you trust that you've done the job well? I'm trying to get out of the sun. That's why I'm like leaning forward. Do you trust that you've done a job well done? You have to just let go and then pray. I think we underestimate the power of prayer, and I think we really need to get back to spending time on our knees, praying for our spouses, praying for our kids, praying for our married kids, praying that they'll make the right decisions and follow the Lord and love Him. And we really, really underestimate the power of prayer quite a bit in our lives. So anyways, I will end it there. That will be it for this week. I hope you all have a lovely week. If I get around to recording something on Sunday or before Sunday, maybe I could record it Saturday and then premiere it. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Just depends on how my week goes. So we pray for us in Louisiana next week. Pray that many souls will be saved. Pray that we have safety. There will be a lot of us and a lot of kids in New Orleans, not like the District 8, or what is it? Not District 8. I'm like thinking of Katarina or Katniss, Katarina. I'm thinking of Katniss Everdeen and District 8. No, it's not the like real like dangerous parts of New Orleans. I think Pastor Major has some areas mapped out for us that are a little bit more family friendly. So, but pray for our safety, pray that many souls will be saved, and pray for good weather and all of that. And I hope you all have a really good week. So I will wrap it up there. And if you have any other comments, like, share this video, all that good stuff. If you have all of, sorry, I'm trying to read the comments as I'm talking. If you have any other suggestions about how to be close to your kids, how to foster a good relationship with them, please leave them down. If you disagree with me, go ahead, leave them down below. As long as I've decided a long time ago, this is just another rabbit trail. I like different opinions and different ways that we can disagree, but I will not allow Gently Led Sisters comment section to be used as a personal platform to just slam me, everything about me, my nose, my appearance, whether or not I sniff or cough when I'm talking, just absolutely tear me and rip me apart to shreds. I will not allow my channel and my comment section to be used in that way. If you want to do that, you create your own I Hate Cassandra McMurtry group and you do that in there. But I have established a boundary from here on out, from few weeks ago on out, that as much as I hate blocking people, if you come on here and you leave a comment this long about all the ways that you hate me, I'm going to delete and block you, and I'm done. I'm not letting you use this platform as a way to do that. And that was actually something I was thinking about a few weeks ago, and because I don't like blocking people and I don't even really delete comments that often, but when someone's using this platform to just share all the reasons why they hate me so much, I'm going to put an end to it. So you can go form a little Reddit group. You can form I Hate Cassandra McMurtry Facebook group and do that on there. But on here, you can disagree with me if you're respectful and kind. I'm not going to allow name calling. I'm not going to allow you just to tear my husband apart, tear me apart when there is no grounds for it, when it's just conjunctions you're coming up with in your head that you're just throwing out there. You're not using this channel for that. So that's my rant of the week. So yes, that is my rant of the week, and just So it is said, so it shall be from here on out. You can disagree with me in a respectful, kind way, but there is no need for name calling. There is no need for foul language. And there is no need to just tell all the 1 million reasons why you hate Cassandra McMurtry. Go get your own group for that. So anyways, have a great week, ladies. And we'll end on that note. So I love you all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part. Thank you for leaving kind comments.